If you've been feeling like the Eastside real estate market has quietly shifted since the beginning of the year, you are not imagining it. Today, I want to do three things. Recap what actually happened in 2025, share what we're seeing so far in January, and talk about what I think this might mean moving forwards for the market. Let's start with a zoom out. 2025 was a hard market, was still objectively a strong market. While it felt like a depreciating market, when we zoom out and look at the year as a whole, prices remained flat. The median closed sales price on Seattle's Eastside in December was $1.5 million, 3% down from December 2024, but it was actually 1% higher than the average for the year. But despite this flat appreciation, it was not a year without volatility. Prices surged more than 10% in Q1, peaking in March at 1.7 million, and then they steadily corrected throughout the remainder of the year. Inventory was really the headline of 2025. December closed with 2.6 months supply, up 57% year over year, and the average inventory for the year was 2.1 months supply, highest annual level we've seen since 2011. The number of homes going pending every month, however, was only slightly slower than what we saw in 2024 every month, further proving that 2025 was never about lack of demand, which remained fairly consistent month over month. While we saw inventory rise to levels not seen since mid-2022, this wasn't an oversupply market, but it also wasn't a scarcity-driven market. Sellers were competing with other sellers. And this is where psychology really changed. In rising markets, buyers tend to overlook flaws. In flat or declining markets, buyers scrutinize everything. And in 2025, buyers led with hesitation. They noticed shortcomings, they waited for better options, and they moved only when something truly stood out. That's why pricing, preparation, and agent strategy mattered more than ever. Now, let's fast forward to what's happening right now. Since the beginning of the year, we've seen a marked increase in buyer activity, and I'm seeing it most clearly at open houses and with the number of homes that are now putting an offer review date on their listing. A quick story for you. On Sunday, I showed a buyer 5 homes. 3 of those listed at the end of last week and had offer review dates of today. We visited one during the open house, and it was the most charming 1940s house in Lake Forest Park, nicely updated in the main house, but not without issues, had some great architectural features, and was simply just full of charm. We toured it during the open house, as I said. The listing agent reported 44 groups through on Friday's open in just 2 hours, and on Sunday she counted 22 groups in the first 15 minutes of being open, and then lost count. Now, granted, this was a bit of a unicorn. It was a very unique property that some people would have come to see purely out of curiosity, even if they had no intention of buying. When I spoke to the listing agent yesterday, as my client was considering an offer, she reported over 30 downloads of the inspection report, and at that time believed that she was going to receive 5 offers today. My buyer opted not to compete as the home needed some work that they didn't want to take on, and it just felt a little bit too overwhelming for them as first-time home buyers. But now let's look at the latest MLS data for Seattle's Eastside. In the past 3 days alone, 73 homes went under contract. And here's what I think matters most. 32 of those homes, so nearly 50%, were on the market for less than 12 days. And 25% of those homes that went under contract had set an offer review date. So we're seeing more and more homes publish an offer review date right out of the gate, and many of those are receiving multiple offers. What's also fairly interesting and telling of today's market is what's happening with homes that haven't been selling right away. For homes that have been on the market for 20, 30, 45, 60, 90 days, agents are reporting that open houses over the past 2 weekends have been busier than anything they saw at the back end of last year. Some homes that received relatively little interest late last year are suddenly getting strong buyer open house traffic, a number of showings, and in some cases, multiple offers. qualified buyer wanted to look at another property last week. It had been on the market for over 20 days. The day before we were scheduled to see it, the agent received 3 offers. We unfortunately didn't get a chance to see it before they had reached mutual acceptance. So what does this tell us about where the market is headed? Well, in short, the market has picked up since the beginning of the year. But I want to bring in a little voice of reason, and most indicators are pointing to continuity and not disruptions, and future-facing insights need to be grounded in data. Inventory is likely to stay pretty high, somewhere around about 1.52 months supply, meaning that buyers will have choice and we will see fewer runaway bidding wars. Price forecasts for the East Side are generally flat for the year. That's not to say we won't see some volatility and some up in Q1 and leveling out. Interest rates are going to moderately trend down, but they're not going to go crazy. And personally, I don't think they're going to go much below high 5s. Transaction volume is expected to rise, but simply because 2025 set a very low baseline. So to sum it up, yes, we've seen an uptick of activity. It's not a frenzy. It feels more like, to me, the typical signs of the market waking up. I'll be sharing weekly updates like this, sometimes data-driven, sometimes anecdotal, sometimes storytelling, so you can really understand what's happening in the market real time. Now, if you want to know how this applies to your neighborhood, your particular property, your price point, then I'm always here to talk. Please don't forget to subscribe below, follow for more videos, and I will see you soon.